So, Jack, I want to share with you something before we officially start this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna show you a little a little a little oopsie as it's known in the internet world. So as per usual on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
whenever a artist of some reasonable fame draws a female character
Mm-hmm.
that is even slightly unrealistic
Mm-hmm.
or pretty looking,
Mm-hmm.
obviously there's gonna be tons of uh I'll call what they are, bunch of crazy SJWs have nothing to do with their ties that be on Twitter all day and start hounding the person, inevitably making them trending for a while and then being disappointed to find out what the train actually is. This is what I want to show you, and you'll see why it's an oopsie and on all one single tweet. So let me go ahead, send you the link on the Discord, and there you go. You can see for yourself. Now, as Jack is looking at this, I want to comment on that. I actually like Mr. Campbell's artwork. That'd be J. Scott Campbell for those who don't know, and he's very known to be one of those cheesecake artists, meaning that he mostly is he's mostly is known for drawing very beautiful women, particularly comic book women, and sometimes other types of fiction as well. So, with that established, Jack, are you seeing the tweet that I'm seeing?
Yeah, I'm seeing the tweet.
Right? Did you see the image?
Yep.
Yep. Yep. And to narrate what we're seeing here, Mr. Campbell tweets out this whenever after he got some scrutiny for posting God forbid, a a a nice picture of a Marvel character, Medusa, by the way. It says, when the person who is ripping your art on Twitter has your art as their avatar without even realizing it. And it's true. In the image itself, you see the person complaining who has an image of Gwen Stacy, and it's the same Gwen Stacy that he drew. And just as I'll explain, all noobsy. Several days ago, when the tweet came out, the person who made the oopsie actually did respond. It's probably lost a bunch of other replies, but pretty much the person responded with saying that, oh, it was one of the few images that I could tolerate and I actually like because it wasn't so sexualized and demeaning.
I like this one tweet right in the very bottom. It says the quotes all men are properly portioned Hulk. And it's just like a very over photoshopped man.
Yep. Heck, no, that could be Jonathan Joestar right there in that one panel. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hack Jack Show. I am the genuinely beautiful and ever forgetful Hack.
I am the very noble and loyal Jack.
And we're here with episode 11 of the Hack Jack Show. Regular episode today, regular episode today as we have been for the first 9 episodes. And for this podcast, we have it's gonna be more of a centered episode. So we're gonna hear a lot from him, not much from me. Not much that I could comment on in terms of it what's going on in the world of comics and movies that hasn't already been discussed in great length. So, but in the world of gaming, oh, there's a lot to be discussed that people have only reached a tipping point. And so, with that said, before we get on to our big topic, Jack, give us uh, our first news of the episode. What do you got for us?
Alright, so first of all, let me just say this for the people out there watching, and that were probably expecting our regular submissions. Most likely, this won't be published or uploaded on the days we usually do. We just gotta apologize for that. It was really out of our control. If you weren't seeing the news about the weathers, we're pretty much near the coast, the Gulf Coast area, so we were hit by Melda. Of course, nothing too bad happened to us. We were just very worried that it might affect our recording. So I just want to apologize for that one moment. That truly there was nothing we can do.
If only we were mutants.
Yep.
But even then, that only goes so far. By by the way, my little brother hates it whenever I would quote store from the X-Men cartoon. He like it literally just like upsets him because he honestly I don't think he likes that character now. He's a little kid. I only likes that character because the way she kind of speaks
Mhm.
and how she kind of announces what she does whenever she attacks. And so because of that, I kind of took the joke of doing that anytime just to rile him up. So, a little fun fact. But what is our first news of the
All
podcast?
right. So our first news of the podcast is something that we saw before, and we might have been dreading what could happen to E3. So, as we saw before, or we ever heard from other news outlets, E3 this year was not doing so well in the sense of there wasn't as many attendees as there were in 2018, and especially since Sony decided to like not even be in the E3 for this year, so that gave them a bit of less revenue, I'm assuming. So what there has been plans for, at least from what I've been reading, is this actually happened just recently. Says that E3 might rebrand themselves as a fan, media, and influencer festival for this next year's event.
And this news comes to us from GameDaily.biz with the headline E3 2020 pitch proposes overhaul with Qtainment, new floor plan, industry only day. And is an exclusive story, and this was published on September 16th, 2019. Continue on.
Alright, so just judging from this, they're probably going to have a lot more celebrities. And as it says here, as part of its overhaul, the group proposes leaning into influencers and paid celebrities deals with talent representation agencies like UTA and CAA. So we're gonna see, just because of that one moment, I think what really made them at least get some more extra revenue was Keanu Reeves, because they noticed that having a celebrity in there gave them a lot more attention. At least that was like one of the highlights of this E3. What do you think about that? Do you think I'm wrong? Right? Maybe in the
You
middle?
No, you're definitely not wrong. Keanu's famous appearance certainly got a lot of eyes glued to E3. However, I think the going about this all wrong. But before I give my opinions on this, I'll let Jack finish all of the things he's got to report on.
So pretty much, expect to see a lot more quote unquote influencers. So I'm not sure what they could mean from influencers. It could be literally that one Instagram influencer you see over there in the very corner. Or it could actually be maybe a YouTuber. Maybe they're gonna bring it. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna bring in Ninja. I bet you they're gonna do something like that. But expect to see a lot more influencers, like high YouTuber, like really well-known YouTubers or celebrities from Twitch and paid celebrities. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have Keanu Reeves some time again, or hell, I'm gonna give my guess for the next celebrity that's gonna come in. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be Will Smith. That's my guess.
Okay, so There's a lot more going on than just celebrities, but that's one major aspect, and I'm just kind of skimming through this article. Now, opinion time. So, Jack, want to know my opinion on this?
What's wrong with it? What's your opinion?
This is this is gonna kill E3,
Yeah, definitely.
and here's why. Here's why. Noticed if you guys notice that all the things that they're trying to improve upon or change has nothing to do with the theme or the centerpiece of gaming. It's literally they're trying to change E3 so that they can and to phrase it so they can have a lot of clout on social media.
Yeah, and it says right here in this one paragraph. It says here another aspect of the deck proposes. So I'm assuming that their deck plan, how it's gonna look like inside the floor plan and everything. That leveraging consciousness to promote E3 in a series of slides called "The Power of the Social Good." The essay suggests exploiting millennial and Generation Z propensity propensity for giving back. By amplifying E3's social good branding, we can advance the industry's brand with consumers while storing positive sheet. Yeah, I think it says sheet for future use. So pretty much, it literally says right there, they are trying to exploit us. They're not trying to bring in any gaming news. No, they're just bringing all these influencers and celebrities just pretty much for themselves so they can get some more money.
And as well, in the same little slideshow that Jack was reading, it also states this that that in parentheses when it uh, talking about the influencer brigand, continues, who are passionate about E3 relevant social good efforts, e.g., in parentheses, gender equality, STEM. So literally, they're going to bring in people just essentially give lectures.
And pretty much,
What does this have to do with games?
like, why? This
And
is why
and
E3 was going down the drain.
and here's the thing, Jack. Here's the thing. They've already been doing this. If you notice past E3s, they've already been doing have been doing pretty much what is stated here. They're just now they're pretty much gonna do it a lot more.
Yeah,
There's nothing in this talks about how they're going to make it so that I don't know, people have a better experience whenever they're trying new games, trying to see if they can get back even, like Sony or Nintendo, to do these big presentations, or to even um, or just to make it some, or to even make it some sort of gaming festival, because in all honesty, and this is something that is not just happening to E3, but a lot of conventions and the way conventions are in general, is that with with this stuff, especially bigger conventions, a lot of the times people go there because they want to see what's going to be the next big thing. And 10 to 20 years ago, that's like the reason number one to go to these events, to go to a Comic Con, to go to E3, or to go to to a another equally as big convention. Now, literally any big news that a game developer will have it's already leaked before the event even starts, and people will already know about it. So, and eventually you'll learn the same information. You just didn't spend boatloads of money going to a hotel in California. So then that begs the question: why go to these places if there's nothing for the consumer, the customer, the people who are the gamers? if there's very little for them, if all they're gonna go to there is just to uh maybe play the games that we presented and just go to tons of panels irrelevant to gaming as a whole.
Yeah, and he even said like right here at the very end, literally just the last sentence. Gaming Game Daily Dub is pretty much hits the nail on the head on this. This is an identity crisis that Qtainment and celebrities aren't going to fix.
And I want to mention this, the whole Keanu Reeves thing, that's lightning in a bottle. That only worked because number one, Keanu Reeves is popular again thanks to the John Wick movies. Number two, he's attached to a long awaited project, Cyberpunk 2077. And as well, number three, during the time that that the conference was happening, John Wick 3 already came out. So all these factors is what led to the whole moment of Keanu's reveal. Now, that cannot be replicated. If you're gonna bring in more celebrities, okay, are they gonna matter to E3? Keanu at least matters because he's gonna be in a game. S- Come next year, well, they're gonna add in what Jack said. They're adding Will Smith. Well, what's Will Smith got to do with gaming?
That
Hmm.
that actually reminds me. Here's a perfect example of what's going to happen to this year's newest E3 for 2020. Hack, do you remember YouTube Rewind, the current one?
Who does not remember? But yes.
Now, how was the how was the dislike bar on that thing?
Ooh. Ooh.
That one had
Isn't
pretty much what
isn't that?
exactly this thing had: influencers and celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at one point there was getting so many dislikes that they actually disabled the like to dislike bar.
And it wasn't that like that video like the second highest disliked video on
No,
YouTube?
it's the first now.
Oh wow, it beat out Justin Bieber.
Yeah, it beat out Justin Bieber.
Oh, you know you're bad when you beat out Justin Bieber during his preteen days.
Yeah, and like it just became such a big meme, and especially where I think it was PewDiePie that said it. It was someone, I don't remember who, but they pretty much said that just by looking at the newest YouTube Rewind, it shows that these people really did not listen to the YouTube community. They just wanted to bring in influencers and celebrities because that's what gives them the most revenue. Because that's why we didn't have PewDiePie in this newest one, even though at during that time he was the number one YouTuber, number one subscribed.
And going back to E3 2020, with the big hits like Nintendo and Sony gone, and who knows what Microsoft if Microsoft is gonna stay. What's the point? Literally, what's the point? You want to know when was the last E3 that got me genuinely excited, Jack?
Which one?
2015, dubbed, which I dub, and probably many others, the E3 of dreams. You know why?
Why? I don't really remember
At
much.
Because that year, just in that year, Shenmue 3 was announced. FF7 remake was announced. They showed off a new FromSoft game, which ended up being Sekiro. They showed off, I believe. No, not that one. As well, with regards to Nintendo, they showed off Bayonetta as the new fighter who won the poll. I believe that's when that was revealed. And as well, probably many others I'm forgetting, but that E3 alone in 2015 was the last time I was genuinely excited because there was actually some exciting news, and it was still focused on trying to give gamers what they want in terms of presentation and of showcasing the big games that come out.
For me, personally, was the time when they were. I think it was the E3 when they announced Halo Reach, and like I noticed something now. I'm not sure if it's just something that it was off or something, but have you noticed that E3, like before, back then E3 had a lot more demos in the sense of you actually saw the person up there play the game rather than
Yep,
big trailers.
or those fake demos.
Oh yeah, I love
That
that.
the ones that Ubisoft love to do all the time.
No, my favorite one was specifically the Rainbow Six Siege one. Everyone knew and hated the beginning of Rainbow Six Siege because it was so different from what it was promised to be. And especially my favorite thing was those voice actors. They were all there just like they were supposedly part of this pre-alpha testers playing the game and they were all acting like they were in the game playing it and stuff. But then if you noticed, go look at that. And then go look at Anthem, like their trailer for E3. You'll notice that those voices, they're the exact same ones.
You're kidding me.
No,
I'll have to let this other podcast over. It's literally just the same.
they're the same voice actors.
Oh my god. Wow. Well, they couldn't even afford new actors, or at least have them act
Well,
differently.
to be fair,
Wow.
this went from Ubisoft games to an EA game. Also, some bonus news. EA, well, Anthem is dying even more. Have you noticed that they actually removed their roadmap of what they're going to be releasing?
I have not kept with Anthem at all, so
Exactly.
I am not surprised.
See, that's why. So pretty much, you thought that Anthem was dead. Well, now it's even deader.
Stop it, he's already dead. Well, we gotta continue on. But any more final thoughts on what's gonna be surely an exciting E3 2020?
Well, I can't wait to see it crash and burn.
I cannot wait for the memes that are gonna come out of it.
Oh yes, the new memes.
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah,
love them.
oh yeah. So and with that, let's go and with that news out of the way, also want to diverge a bit. Just go with some more little funny stuff like I found around while I'm in roaming Twitter again. So, Jack, have you heard of DC's new movie announced called Birds of Prey?
Very very vaguely, I have heard.
Okay, so do you know who the Birds of Prey are?
I do know somewhere in my mind some of the characters, but not all of them.
Well, for those in the uninitiated, the Birds of Prey are is a small female team of female DC heroes that team up together and they go and try to solve either mysteries, go do missions together and whatnot. And at one point, there was a pretty popular series with a writer who used to actually be a legit talent. Nowadays, not so much. And within the Birds of Prey, you had A-plus characters such as Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, who was the second Batgirl and currently known as the Orphan, Black Canary, the Huntress, and as well sometimes Catwoman.
I thought Hawkgirl
So
was
you
there
got
too. No.
no, as far as I know, hot girl is she's only just related to Justice League stuff. But who knows? I have not read every single thing Birds of Prey. So now I honestly don't care about the movie because number one, it looks like it's just gonna focus on the film version of Harley Quinn, who's already just like, God, I don't like Harley Quinn. I just don't. I like how she initially was, but she just kind of got ruined years later.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, a poster came out, and it's a pretty bad poster, even if you're just judging as the quality of the poster itself. But what catches my eye, and I'm going to share this with you, Jack,
Mhm.
is I'm going to show you the actual Birds of Prey characters, and in the image it shows their how they look in the comics
Mhm.
versus and paired up to how they are presented in the poster.
Mhm.
So let me go ahead and send this to Jack and see his reaction to it. Well, hear his reaction to it. All right, is sent.
All right, let me open it bigger. What? Are you
Eh,
you're joking with me, right?
Nope.
Why does it what?
By the way, this tweet comes from us from Caitlin underscore M. Don't know who this person is, but thanks for the tweet.
Are you sure it's not faked?
Nope, that's the act. Those are the characters who are they're supposed to represent, and if you look in the actual poster, that is what they look like. So,
Are they
to
first of all, wait, hold on. Are they actually posing for the Birds of Prey movie or is it just different pictures of the actors?
the the for the live action that you see, that's where they're posed how they're posed actually in the poster.
Oh, no, no.
As in, first of all, I want to get let's go with the least offender. Look at Huntress for a second. So Huntress, well known for having a purple and black motif going with a belief, a either upright or upside down cross, because not people know, but the Huntress is Catholic, and she usually sports either a pretty much a regular skin tight outfit with a whole bunch of gauntlets, elbow pads, knee pads, shin pads, all of that, blazing purple with a purple mask, and carries a longbow. The live action depiction: black leather pants, a gun, and a bulletproof vest. Oh, and she has like these very short hair when Huntress has always had long hair. And she's not even wearing a mask.
It ruins the it's like literally for me just looking at it looks like as if you're giving Batman a gun.
The, the second worst offender, Cassandra Cain. So the Asian girl, Jack. Do you see the obvious difference?
Yes.
So, for those who don't know, Cassandra Cain was a literal child assassin who cannot speak and communicates through movement. She's a natural born killer and is considered extremely dangerous. They depict her with having unlaced shoes, boy shorts, a red Letterman jacket, and drinking a smoothie.
Just think of like a super kawaii desu fun time Japanese girl. That's how she looks like.
Yup. And and imagine Cassandra Cain just going by her backer outfit. Imagine her backer outfit, which is full on bodysuit, and the mask covers her entire face, even her eyes. She doesn't even need to see. That's how good of an assassin he is. So, and the worst offender, Black Canary.
For me, I
Oh
personally
boy.
thought the very last one was the worst offender just because of the shoelace thing.
I can trust me. I was debating that too, but I say Black Canary more because I have more emotional attachment to her than to Cassandra Cain. And this is something I've noticed. Whenever there's trying to be a live action depiction of Black Canary, they're afraid to pretty much commit to how she really looks.
What's with the bell bottoms? Like why? Like why do they give her bell bottoms?
I don't know, and I don't know why she isn't even a natural blonde. Pretty much live action Black Canary, she's literally wearing bell bottom jeans, boots, and has a shirt.
It's like a mix of the. It's like we're going back in time, but not in a good way. Looking at her,
Mm-mm. And and I mean, what else is there to say? Just what else is there to say?
and what's with the wings in the background for the movie poster?
Uh, because it's called
I
Birds of
I
Prey,
know,
everyone has
I
wings.
know, I know what they're trying to do there, but it's dumb.
But that's the reason why.
I don't see Black Canary having friggin' wings coming out of her. I don't see the Huntress having wings come out of her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, want to hear something else too?
What else?
So there's another character that you know in the poster. Remember Black Mask?
Yeah,
He's in the poster. He's not even wearing his black mask.
I was wondering who that guy was.
Yep. So they pretty much got a notorious gangster acting silly in front of the poster.
And with no mask, which
Mm-hmm.
gave him the name Black Mask.
Yep. This is gonna be a great movie.
Why can't they just? Why did they have to do it? Why did they do this to us?
Honestly, I don't know, but I may have an idea.
Hmm.
It and I heard this from a YouTuber I watched, and while I won't be as passionate as he was, pretty much so with so much changes of how the characters are in the books to how they're represented in movies, it goes back to the fact that people just allow it. That they like it that way. And this could be seen early on to how number one, how Venom was presented, how Venom was presented where he had his own movie without any connection to Spider-Man. The new Joker, how the director and writer literally admitted that the Joker has nothing to do with any interpretation of comic book Joker. It's literally just whatever weird big Oscar movie they want to make, and they just slap the Joker in there. Same thing, and I can keep going. Pretty much, Hollywood's thinking, well, we don't have to make the characters look how they are. We just make them either silly or make them kind of what they are, or do a reinterpretation, and now I'll do just fine.
I feel like okay, so I kind of feel like Thor made this happen to us. Don't get me wrong.
Oh
Don't
yeah.
get me wrong.
Oh,
Chris,
you just remind
Chris
you just reminded me.
wait before you say anything.
Okay, go finish your
Before
thought.
the any rabid animals or I'm sorry, rabid people come in. My bad. I actually said that. I'll retract that one statement. But any rabid fans of Chris comes out. Chris is a really good actor. He does his job of funny slapstick pretty well. But it got to the point where he got too popular in that sense where some of the aspects like once when you actually read Thor, you're gonna be wondering where's the funny slapstick? And you're gonna notice that the MCU Thor is not the same as the Marvel Comics Thor.
And you just reminded me. I have it saved, and I'll share it to you later. But remember in Thor Ragnarok, the scene where Scourge, the executioner, he had his assault rifles, and he was shooting down the hordes of monsters that Hela was saying after
Uh
him.
huh.
That is not just something made for the movie. That happened in the comics, and when this is over, I'm gonna show you how it is presented in the comics,
Okay.
and you're gonna see the total night and day of what they did to that scene.
I believe you on that one.
So, so yeah, uh, so pretty much yeah. This have fun with their comic book movies, folks. They're good. They're gonna be the same quality as just like comic books nowadays. But with that, we're gonna stop that. Stop it. We're gonna end that there, and we're gonna continue on now. Now from here on out, it's gonna be pure nothing but game stuff, no comics or any of that. And so we do have two big discussions going on in relation to Steam and GameStop. And right before we go to those two big stories that Jack definitely has a lot of things to say about on, I want to point out first number one, a cringy article that I came across these past 2 weeks from a site called arstechnica.com, in which the headline says, "Every game should copy Death Stranding's very easy mode,"
Oh God, no.
and the subtitle and the subtitle underneath the headline says, "Not every player wants to suffer through gatekeeping challenges just to see a game."
That's the whole point of the game.
And look at the keyword there, gatekeeping. To make a game hard is now gatekeeping, or
It's
to make it somewhat challenging is now, in this writer's mind, is gatekeeping.
I feel like it's the same writer that talked about how slowing down Sekiro and then saying he claims that he beat it fair and square was the right thing because he thought that he had the right to be able to have his own easy mode. Like he literally went through the files and slowed down the game itself. So every movement was slowed down by half. And he's like, I beat the game. No, you just took the easy route. That's not beating the game. You didn't go through hardships. You didn't learn from your mistakes because that's what happens in games. When you die in a game or you fail a puzzle, you learn your mistakes and improve to get to the next level.
That's where the fun comes in, to when you challenge yourself and overcome it, and when you finally do it, oh my god, just amazing. And this writer wants to get all that away. Why? Because he just wants to play the game for the story. Which, the phrase in of itself, nothing wrong. A lot of games have great stories. But but to but to simply dumb down or to take away mechanics of video games just so you can experience essentially a portion of it does not do that game justice. And I've already read through this article. There's a bunch of things that I could immediately just pinpoint, but we don't have that much time. I do want to highlight one quote he says, and is this near the end of his article. And in context, he was talking about when a developer compared games to books, and saying how taking away the difficulty of games is like reading the cliff notes of a long book, and that yeah, you get what you are needed, but you don't really experience what the book is trying to do. Same thing with games. And he says this: games, on the other hand, are the only major artistic medium that routinely requires the audience to prove their quote unquote good enough before they can experience entirety of the work. Plenty of game makers seem perfectly content completely stopping players from even trying levels 5 through 25 until they finish level 4. And and hearing that, I'm like, games, you do not belong here. Why are you here talking about games? Go away. If you just want to watch the cutscenes, go on YouTube and watch the cutscenes.
Pretty much.
And 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 to add on top of this, when this story was popping out, also from a random Twitter person, it just caught my attention, and and she says this. If the entire point of your video game rests on a player's ability to perform fast click challenges and precision jumping and BS mechanic gimmicks, then you aren't telling a good story. You're making Bop It for grown-ups.
Uh, oh, okay. Okay.
Ooh. Those are fighting words,
I
Jack. Those
mean,
are fighting
isn't
words.
it? I could say the same thing about having a very easy mode. Isn't having a game with dumbed down mechanics to where it's literally press A or press B, as Simon Says mechanic? The game tells me, oh, I need to press A. I press A. I won the level. That's literally a Simon Says mechanic. Have you ever played that little colorful four tile thing where you have to match the tile colors?
Mm-hmm. I have. And look, pretty much, I don't know. I don't know how someone could say that with a straight face, but pretty much, if if people like that are within gaming, but within gaming, I don't think gaming's for them.
Like, here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. Games can be made for everyone, but not every individual game is for everyone.
That is correct.
For example, not there's like the most casual players, not making them feel bad, but like literally they just play 30 minutes of a game or something. You give them a hard game, Dark Souls, Cuphead, something like that, anything. Give them a hard game. They'll stop playing it. They will just stop playing it because it's too hard for them.
Heck, and heck for some even other and that also goes for a different direction. I personally know someone who is deep into FPSs and shooters and of every flavor, but can't handle a single Zelda game.
And like that's the thing, everyone has their preferred genre. Don't try to
Hmm.
make an FPS shooter into a puzzle platformer.
And don't try to make whatever Death Stranding is into a game in which you put little to no effort.
But HAC, the briefcase combat.
And ladders
and
and and
ladders.
pissing. Pissing. I
Actually,
still don't know what people are excited about this game.
wasn't there something about like it was some Easter egg that if you stared at the main character for too long, it would punch the camera or something? I don't know. That's what I heard.
Yeah. That's a Kojima staple right there, adding useless but novelty mechanics into games.
Like here's something. Okay, let me just give this for the super easy ones. You know what's my favorite thing that like some games will do that they will put it to super easy for you, but at the cost of something. For example,
Hmm.
Metal Gear Phantom Pain. You know what I'm talking about just from this.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
For those that don't know, in Metal Gear Phantom Pain, if you fail a mission continuously, of course for most people they'll keep on trucking, but for some they'll just get frustrated and want to just go get through it. The game will ask you if you want to pretty much wear this chicken hat. And by wearing this chicken hat, you'll have three times where the enemy will literally just laugh at you. They'll stop where they'll like if you get spotted, because since it's a somewhat stealthy game, if you get spotted, The enemy will look at you before they even try to shoot you. They'll look at you and laugh at you because you're wearing that chicken hat.
And it makes the game unbelievably easy.
Pretty much. But to be fair for me,
But
I think that was pretty funny. It's pretty fun.
that's yeah, that's at least as at least having fun with it, and pretty much that's the person admitting, yeah, I'm not that great.
And there's no shame in trying to get the easy route if you're already frustrated. Yes, there are some games where you just think that there's that one boss that is particularly frustrating and you want to get through it. There's no shame in taking the easy route. But if you're gonna say that every other person should take the easy route with you, that's when you're wrong.
Or that every game should be designed to have that within their within the game systems. Yeah, no.
Like imagine a horror game, but all the lights are on. Like there's not even like a gloomy, dark lighting. Literally all of them are on, like as if it was just a normal day.
Or pretty much playing Resident Evil after you unlock all the bonuses. You got the gun with infinite ammo or the rocket launcher with infinite ammo. You have a piece of clothing that gives you and makes you invulnerable. At that point, you're just playing the game for fun, like just for cheesy fun, not even trying to experience the horror. Imagine that instead of being like a nice little reward for all your hard work, you can put that in right before you play the game and being like, man, that was that was an amazing experience. Whew, I almost broke a sweat there.
No, or most likely, what's gonna happen is that people will have all that stuff, and then they'll be like, "Man, this was a boring game."
Oh, you know what? No, you're right. You're right. You're right because people because people who are just who who wish this stuff don't really want it, and who know, and most likely that article was made just for attention. Because if that person actually got what they wanted, they would immediately regret it.
Yep,
Immediately, especially if the story wasn't compelling or to their taste.
pretty much.
So, that, what there's not really more that can be said. I spoke on all I said. Have you
Same.
spoken all you said, Jack?
Pretty much. I've spoken all I said.
All right then. And now, with our side dishes out of the way, let's go on to our main courses. Jack, the ball is yours. Go ahead. I'm gonna be with the audience. I'm just gonna be listening and just chiming in from time to time. So go on ahead. The court's yours.
Alright, so everyone has been to this store at least once in their life. Whether maybe it was a time where you didn't have a PC and you were playing consoles. We all always complain about their ludicrous pricing where you can give them 20 games and they're like $5 credit, but they resell those games at like 50 each. I'm talking about GameStop. So, the reason why I'm going to first be talking about GameStop is if you haven't been noticing, GameStop has been going down, has been on a decline ever since digital streaming has been going on. Any digital downloading really has been hurting GameStop because no one wants to bother going to a store and buying the game when they can just download it, like pre-order it online and download it on the day of release without having to wait in line. All right, so right now, currently it says that GameStop has been currently closed 180 to 200 underperforming stores globally this year. It might not seem a lot, but that is a big number. And it kind of reminds me of how Netflix took a giant, like all the streaming, like since Netflix did a bunch of streaming, Blockbuster was having the same problems. Their stores were underperforming, so they were shutting down stores throughout the world, or throughout America. Not sure if there's in
And,
Europe.
and just to chime in, this info comes from us from GamesIndustry.biz with the headline GameStop to close 180 to 200 underperforming stores globally this year.
Now, first of all, let me just give y'all a word of advice. If you still have those PowerPoints, I forgot what they're called now. But if you have those points, don't wait on using them. Use them as quickly as you can. Whenever you hear that some store near you is closing down, or that you hear rumors about it, try to quickly go for those. What was those things called? It's one.
PowerPoints.
No, what was it called when they
Oh,
sell everything in stock?
oh, the not liquidation. It was uh, pretty much it's a closing like we're we're closing and we're selling everything at half price or
Yeah,
something.
pretty much take advantage of that. It's I forgot what it's actually called for consumers, but pretty much it's that time where a store will close and they just want to get rid of everything they have inside the store, so they sell it for dirt cheap. That's when you should use them. That's when you should use your points. But either way, anyways, here is some statistics from their second quarter fiscal for this year. Says here, let me try to find it. Ah, there it is. The results. So GameStop's second quarter total global sales decreased by 14.3%. So, and it says to 1.3 billion, resulting in a consolidated comparable store sales decrease of 11.6%. That might not seem a lot, but that is a huge decrease of sales. They're pretty much going negative right now.
They are in the danger zone. I repeat, they're in the danger zone.
It says here new hardware sales decreased by 41.1%. So not many people are even buying a console inside GameStop. News
And that's what Walmart and Best Buy are for, boy.
That's where Amazon's for.
Oh, I forgot about them too.
Remember, everything's digital now.
Yes, even this podcast.
It says here new software sales decreased by 5.3, which with growth in Nintendo Switch software titles more than offset by weaker titles launches across other consoles in the quarter compared to last year. Accessory sales have been decreasing as well to 9.5. Pre-owned sales declined by 17.5%. Digital receipts decreased by 11.2 to $227.2 million. And collectible sales, that was the only one that increased apparently. Collectible sales increased by 21.2%, with continued
So,
strong double-digit growth in domestic product and international stores.
so literally, those Funko Pops are making more money than whatever is the new AAA title out right now in the GameStop.
Those Funko Pops are not gonna keep that store alive for any longer.
Maybe not, but people are sure heck buying those stuff.
And they can buy them from Hot Topic.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Or at a toy store
All right,
where
so
they belong.
so pretty much you can see that GameStop isn't some very like not even thin ice. They're literally already a foot inside the cold water. And but there is maybe for me specifically is there's no hope for them at all. But for them, they believe that there's still some hope. They have called it the GameStop reboot, or they're pretty much making a plan to do a complete overhaul on how they do their business. So from the global news, globalnewswire.com, they said here that this is what they have for their strategic update. The four pillars of their strategic plans include optimizing the core. So they optimize the core business by improving efficiency and effectiveness across the organization, including cost reconstruction, inventory management, adding and growing high margin product categories, and rationalizing the global store base. Pretty much they're just going to be moving around how they price things, management itself, inventory to make sure that they don't have too much of something, things like that. They're going to become the social slash cultural hub for gaming. They'll try to create a social cultural hub of gaming across the GameStop platform by testing and improving existing core assets, including the store experience, knowledgeable associates, and Power Up Rewards loyalty program. So far, that really does not sound good because it sounds like they're not even changing much on that pillar. Because I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that pillar there, Hack?
Honestly, it just sounds like they're doing a whole bunch of cutting costs, moving funds where they can spend some stuff that might give them back money without having to spend the amount they're already spending, and as well pretty much just stocking less of what they currently have. So pretty much they're all just kind of Tetrising at the moment and hoping the blocks will disappear.
Now, this one is probably what could help them the most. It says here they're going to build a digital platform. So, build compelling digital capabilities, including the recent relaunch of GameStop.com, to reach customers more broadly across the omni-channel platform and give them the full spectrum of content and access to products they desire. Alright, that actually now sounds a little bit worse. I was expecting them to at least, when they say build a digital platform, mean as in not have their own launcher, but actually be like a next online store, pretty much, for video games. And for me, that's pretty much what I think will be possibly the only way they can keep going is try to adapt by also having a digital store and provide shipping from that, but that also requires a lot of money, and that's money that they don't have. Now, let me say this last one before I get into your thoughts. Transforms vendor partnerships. That's their last pillar. It transforms our vendor and partner relationships to unlock additional high margin revenue streams, optimize the lifetime value of every customer. Pretty much, they're going to change around to see which vendor is the cheapest that they can transport and deliver stuff. That's what I'm getting from that one. So, Hack, from hearing all the four pillars that's gonna supposedly help them out, what do you think right now?
Right now, okay. So these are my thoughts. Everything that's I've heard. While you were relaying information, I actually went to look at what's their stock value at the moment, and hey, Jack, want to take a guess how much their stock's worth?
I don't know. I think I would give it 40 per stock, like per unit.
Nope, it's $4.72 as of this recording.
No, really?
Uh huh. Yep, I'm on the Nasdaq.
Damn, let me see. Oh.
Yep.
If anyone out there, while you're listening to this, go check on the GameStop stock, click 5 years or even max, and you could see, specifically from the 5 year mark, it went from a $46 per stock, which, you know what, I should have retracted that because 40 dollars is actually a pretty good amount for any stock value, at least from what I know. It went from a $40, close to $50 stock price down to a tenth of that.
It has literally lost 90% of its stock value. So, with that with that in mind, here's what I think. Now, so as this report has been going on, there has been, and I'm gonna mention this because it relates to what I'm gonna talk about. What I'm gonna express. There's been a leaked video on Facebook of a new testing store that GameStop is gonna try out in Oklahoma, in which the GameStop will be more of a kind of a hangout for gamers, in which you can obviously go and buy your games, but you can also go ahead and go and play your tabletop and card games, play retro games, and as well just pretty much hang out there while also buying snacks. Now, and as oh, and also to mention and also try to do a thing for every kind of local place doing their own fun events, just tournaments or whatever the like. Now, in our area, there's a another similar place like it. Jack knows this place as well, in which has everything I've mentioned except it's an arcade,
Hmm.
but it's also a hangout because it is also a huge floor dedicated to people to play on PC for as long as they want, and they can go and then eat snacks, use restrooms, and whatever, as well bring their old stuff to play with. I honestly believe that if GameStop wants to survive, I think they should just stop selling physical games. Like, I think they should just stop doing that and rebrand themselves as just as a hangout place.
Pretty much, I think so too.
I, I legit think that might that might work because here's my reasoning. Let's look to our friends over in the East. For most people in Asia, if they're not working and raising and raising a family, most of their game time is spent on mobile devices or on handheld consoles. On the other side of that, though, for those who have a lot more time, they will hang out in PC places, internet cafes, game cafes, where they will spend their days playing games on the PC, and that's a huge lucrative market in all over parts of Asia, in Japan, China, Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, you name it. So imagine that with in more abundance over here in the United States, and as well the benefit is that number one, you'll be reaching out to players who will be willing to spend money on on just the services, and as well you get to make extra profit from stuff that you sell out, merchandise, snacks, whatever. You don't have to. All you have to do is just make sure that everything is kept up nice and clean and uptight, and everything's working. You don't have to try to sell games or do these weird promotions for games or for your own GameStop line of products. All you have to make sure is to do is, hey, make sure the restrooms are clean, make sure everything's working well with the computers, and let people come in and out and just spend their days and money at a GameStop. And from there, GameStop could be what's in the name.
An actual GameStop. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
So
one thing I do. I wished there was a lot more in the U.S. I wish there was a lot more internet cafes because I mean, sometimes you just can't be able to get home at a decent time, or you just want to be like, hey, I know you guys don't have PCs or like strong enough PCs. How about we go to internet cafe and we could try playing a game together there?
there you go. Well, just pretty much copy what our Asian gamers are doing, and is and that's a booming business over there. So why not bring it
You
here?
know what I'm hoping for though?
What?
The literal arcade skyscrapers they have. Just buildings that are so that every floor is literally another arcade section. Just in Japan, like in
Okay.
Japan.
Nah, I don't think
I
so.
know,
I don't think we'll go
I
that far.
know.
I would love to.
It's just
I would love to have a Sega type arcade here in the States, just so I can spend my days playing in the fighting game, uh, the fighting game, uh, s- uh,
section.
floor level. Just spend my time on that floor level, but
That's a
that's a
dream I
pipe
can
dream.
only dream of. It's
Hmm.
something only you can dream of.
And something else I want to mention is that and that's another reason why GameStop should just forego selling games is that, as things Jack already mentioned, most people are buying games digitally or through just more through more con, through more convenient means, either Amazon or through a major retailer. And as far as used games, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of offers if you want to get that copy of what would be like an old game to have. I don't know. There will be a lot of places for you if you're gonna want an old copy of Star Wars Bounty Hunter for the Xbox, for the original Xbox, or Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I'm pretty sh- I'm pretty sure you can online find various places, and especially on Amazon, where you can get that game at a reasonable price and not have to set foot in the GameStop or even go to GameStop's website.
Yep, pretty much.
And the only thing I could see how this would not work is it is if they don't make sure that that the service is always at 100%, because knowing gamers knowing gamers, we're gonna make sure that things are as good as advertised. And if not, oh man, all it takes one angry customer to just go online and boom, something's already trending.
Yep, that's the cancel culture we have today.
Yeah, yeah, or just the mob mentality. So there's certain risks, especially if one GameStop has horrible restrooms, horrible service, internet's lacking, piece the PCs are max for some reason. I don't know how they get messed that up, but but generally, I feel that what I would say is so far, it won't make GameStop at how they were at the height of their popularity, but it will not only will they survive, they will be able to then foster a new market here in this country for gamers, and as well just be a place where people who especially don't have much income or can't don't have much at their own homes, be able just to go out and enjoy the hobbies that they enjoy doing.
Yeah, pretty much it's just another place that you can call home.
Especially, I can see this would be a heaven for teenagers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, so I mean, you don't have to go visit somebody's house. Just one location that everyone goes to, and boom, you're up all night. You're there all night, playing Yu-Gi-Oh all day, playing Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yeah.
and thus learning who's the real loser of the group. Here's the answer: it's all of you because you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Nonetheless, nonetheless, that's my opinion, and I can honestly see this thing out going absolutely terrible as well. But I can hope and dream. What about you, Jack? What are your opinions on what GameStop should do moving forward?
I think you pretty much got everything on this whole article. I think that's the only way they're gonna really be able to survive if they want to keep living on.
And well, and with the GameStop out of the way, now we go into Steam. Now, let Jack take the reins again, because I honestly don't. I seen what he sent me, and I'm just trying to figure out how it's gonna work. So I'm gonna let Jack go ahead and spill the beans on our Steam story for this week.
Alright, so let me just read the headline for anyone that does not know what's happening with Steam. French court rules Steam games must be able to be resold, meaning they want digital games, to be resellable. This is by this article, at least the headline comes from Engadget.com. And Hack, your question pretty much hits the nail on the head for me too. How are they going to possibly be able to resell digital games? Now, first of all, I do have some idea of what they can do, but I am not sure if it's going to be possible, mostly because how Steam keys or any CD keys for games nowadays are literally a one-use item. You use it once, that's it. Now, let me just get into details of what the court decision, or like the court's all about. The French court has pretty much told Steam sorry, that it goes against the European Union laws that govern the free flow of digital goods. So that's why they want them to do this. And Valve or Steam, vice versa, they're the same people. Valve's lawyers actually attempted to argue this by saying that Steam was a subscription service. Now, for some people, of course, they were at first automatically with Steam's side, but probably from hearing this, you might be questioning, what the hell, Steam? You're not a subscription service. In a way, you're right. And also, I kind of see Valve's loophole, which, in a way, they are a subscription by saying you can pay it one time, get your game, but at any moment they can revoke that one time that you bought the game. So, for example, let's say somehow magically by the end of the day, like you bought 10 games, then the next day somehow Steam is gone. Like literally just something happened to it, market exploded, wasn't in a good way, Steam is gone. They revoked all those games you purchased. In a way, I could see that as a subscription service. You paid it for once, but then whenever they want to, they can take away that privilege. Because just to give people some technicalities here, when you buy a game on any electronic or digital store, you're not buying the game itself. You're buying the license to play that game. And that's a big difference. Because when people say buying the game, of course people are just saying that they're buying a one copy of the game to play around. But in literal terms or law-making terms, buying the game literally means you take ownership of that whole project or whatever happened. So for example, if I said I bought Destiny, it can either be taken I bought a copy of Destiny, or in literal terms, I bought literally the game Destiny, the company, or like the project name and everything, all its assets. So again, when you buy a game, you're buying the license to play that game. That's how digital stores work. That's why when you download the game, it says you have to read the EULA, which is the Users Licensing Agreement. And that's exactly what it says. Users Licensing Agreement. It's the license. Now, to get more in detail, the France also included that if Valve refuses to change its rules on not being able to resell games and post a court's decision to Steam within the month, it will have to pay a fine of 3,000 euros per day up to 6 months. Now, to be fair, I'm pretty sure right now Steam would just pay that fine and leave, because that's literally chump money for them. They built themselves a giant fortress of money. They have a war chest in the back filled to the brim. They're not gonna be worried over 3,000 euros a day for 6 months. They're probably gonna just pay it off and that's it. Now, first of all, here's my thoughts. As much as I like the idea of being able to, let's say whatever game I got from Humble Bundle, be able to sell it, I don't think it's a good idea at all. And let me explain why. Alright, let me go back to GameStop. GameStop's main way of making money is not by selling the consoles or any subscriptions like that. Their main revenue is actually really pre-orders and resales of old games or used games. Now, why am I talking about GameStop? First of all, by technicality, selling your copy of a game to someone else is actually illegal by technicality. But no one cares because it's everyone does it. And here's a reason why it's, in the eyes of developers, not good. So let me just go back to an article I have here where, and it's like a back and forth between developers and consumers when it comes to this. Let me just make sure I am reading the right one. Alright, so let me start with this one. This one's the Arstechnica.com. We here have, this is an old one. It's from like August 25th, 2010, but it's still relevant in the sense of what's happening here. Cody is a THQ creative director for wrestling games, and his ambivalence about the feelings about those who buy used games has caused this topic to flare up again. He has a point though. Why should anyone care about how used game customers feel? We hope people understand that when the game's bought used, we get cheated. In a recent interview, that's what he said. I don't think anyone wants that. So in order for us to make a strong, high quality WWE game, we need loyal fans that are interested in purchasing the game. We want to award those fans with additional content. Now you might be thinking to yourself, but I'm buying this used game from a GameStop. Don't they give some portion of the money back to the developers? No, they don't. It's all for them. Reselling that game is all for them. Just like how you would go to a garage sale, buy a game from some random house. That person in the random house is not going to be like, okay, let me just give my portion, give 10% of the money I made for this game to the developers. They don't do that. No one does that. They keep the money for themselves. So what I think is going to happen with Steam being able to resell old games is going to hurt a lot of indie developers. And you know how it is for indie developers. Every little cent counts. With that in mind, we should be very careful on what we want when it comes to reselling digital copies of games. Because just keep in mind, you're not giving any money to the developer by buying a used game. If you truly care for the developer and their game, you buy the game either full price or when it's on sale on their terms. Don't buy used because, well, you can buy used. I'm not saying don't do it, but just keep in mind that that's what happens in how business works with these used games and reselling games. Now, let me just ask Hack. So, Hack, with all the information I gave you,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any questions first?
Um, Not yet. Not yet. Been listening intently, so I was gonna give my own thoughts on board.
Now, currently, from what the information I gave you, what are your thoughts?
Well, number one, this is what I'll say. Number one, the EU sucks. It's they're almost they're literally what always no how is it? They're almost always pushing socialistic and communistic ideas into the economic trade of so many European nations that it effectively just hurts their economies. And what you see here is an example of that. Because it goes back to the question, how do you resell a license?
Exactly. And
I
let me actually
I
give
I
you an example of something where it's been causing a lot of controversy. So, I think I've mentioned this in the podcast before, just very, very briefly, might have. But actually, give me a second, let me just drink some water. Alright. But when I asked, it was probably like in the back, like pre-recording, and I asked Hack about it, see if he liked it or not, or if we can even talk about it. But who knows? So, for you PC gamers out there, y'all have heard already of G2A. I've already mentioned this to Hack a little bit, but not too much. Just to give a refresher for those that don't know, or just to give some light, G2A has been getting a lot of controversy because of how their gray market site works. It's a gray market site. That's all it is. There's nothing white or black about it. It is gray market because that's what they call them. That's what G2A and Kinguin are. And here's the reason why. So, this is from Engadget.com, where they're talking about G2A. It says here, so what's the problem about it? Many indie developers say the site is costing them money, and by extension threatening their livelihoods. Traditional thieves will buy games with stolen credit cards, and then they will market them on G2A and hope that they will make some money out of it. But here's what happens instead. Instead, thieves are entering developer giveaways, which are usually advertised on social media, Discord, and message boards, snagging review codes by posing as an established YouTuber, Twitch streamer, or video game journalist, buying humble bundles, backing Kickstarter projects, or contacting backers who are opted to receive the crowdfunding game as a code, or buying a physical copy or voucher style cards that include a key. Many of those are unreliable, but in a way, for some of these examples, let's go with the Humble Bundle. That and let's see, physical copies of cards. Alright, so HAC. Let's go with physical copies of vouchers and pretty much any those type of cards. Is that technically buying, let's say, the game? Like if I go to Walmart right now and I see on sale a Minecraft card for the PC version and I buy it, is that me buying the game?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yes.
buy the license for that game. Now, in G2A, you get that game, and since sometimes most people don't really go out there to check for sales in a physical area, they'll look online in G2A. Let's say I bought Minecraft for $10 on sale at a Walmart, 50% off pretty much. Then I go into G2A and I mark it up to $15, maybe even $16. Now, Minecraft in their store and their actual physical and their website, it'll be still $20 or whatever the price is right now. And they can't do anything for me reselling it because I'm technically making more of a profit than they are. But in a way, that's me reselling a used game. Like, sure, it's not really used. I haven't used the key, but that's how G2A works. They go into something, buy it for cheap, then from there, they sell it for a higher price. And the developers of those games are getting screwed because of that. How is this not different from being able to resell games if Steam allowed it? How is it not different from reselling games on the Steam store? Because for me, I think it's the same thing. Sure, you might have bought it for full price one time. Maybe the game has gone 2 years old. Then you decided you got bored of it. You sold it for at least try to get $20 out of it. You gained $20, but that indie dev didn't get anything for that one person that could have potentially been a customer for them and give them some revenue to create those games that you so love. And even then, sorry, but just one thing, even then, going back to the question of how can we do this in a digital store, it's going to be very messy. You're going to have so many people going to contact support. Hey, this game key's not working. This game key's not working. Oh, someone sold me a fake game key. It's going to be hard. Now, HAC, your thoughts?
As you're describing it, as you're describing that, it it brought to me that it reminded me of something else. And I was trying to figure out what it was, and I figured it out. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
Racketeering.
Can you give me a refresh on that?
Sure, I have it right here. It says so. A racket, according to the current common and most general definition, is an organized criminal act in which the criminal act is some form of substantial business, a way to earn illegal money either regularly or briefly but repeatedly. A racket is therefore generally a repeated or continuous criminal operation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what we're dealing with here is that, and again, a bit to how much the EU sucks, that they're gonna pretty much open up digital racketeers, and unfortunately, there is no law specifically for that. There's a law against definitely piracy, definitely, but not for racketeering in an online space. Because I was listening to y'all talk, I was listening to y'all talk. It came to me pretty much that all this, Jack. The only reason why it was is kind of hard to pretty much find a solution for this is because all this is new types of crime or new ways to commit crimes.
And like, here's the thing: we're not.
And hold on,
Uh
I'm
huh.
not finished. And so far, our current law has nothing to defend against that. And so that's when it becomes a hard. So that's the reason why it's because such a hard thing to go against because it technically uh, isn't illegal, or at least can't be tried as illegal, even if it's seen as it. So and just like with real crime, it affects local businesses, i.e., it affects independent and even bigger developers.
And like, here's the thing: we're not calling anyone that has resold a game a criminal. I have resold games. I'm pretty sure Hack has resold games. We've all done it. For me, I never noticed that what I was doing did not help the developers in any way. Because I thought
But
when you go to a GameStop and buy a used game, I thought you still technically gave some money to the developers.
and this also comes to me something else that I thought of this, and it's just a thought experiment
Mm-hmm.
because buying used games in and of itself to me is not bad. Because think about this. Think about this. Obviously, it's crappy when let's say what's a recent game that came out today this week. Okay, got one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the game Astral Chain for the Switch. It came out recently,
Mm-hmm.
and you bought it, and then you want to resell it, and you and then you want to resell it, and it becomes used. I can see that as how it's like, okay, that's crappy, because now the customer come in and sees that a used copy that's barely been used, and will buy that instead of a brand new copy, and thus Nintendo loses profits.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say the same though, however, if let's say a customer walks in and he wants to buy Super a used copy of Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see
in
that.
which yeah, so for me it goes. And I don't know how one could put this into some sort of rule or policy, but maybe maybe either markets that sell games or retailers, maybe what they can do is they can force a policy that that any games that any new games purchase cannot be cannot be resold under certain time limits.
But then here's just being devil's advocate. But then that also means that you're giving the government control of how they monitor video games.
I didn't say the government. I said retailers.
Yes, but
That's not the
I
government
know.
though.
But the thing is, most retailers will probably not listen to that type of law because that's how they make money. That's how GameStop makes money.
Yeah. So then it comes that. So then it'll come down to that. That's the hard part. So who's gonna enforce something like this? Let's say who's gonna be enforcing like this? I doubt the ESRB.
No, no, they're just a rating system.
Exactly. They don't have that type of power. And though, actually, you know what? I think so. Yeah. So fortunately, only the way I can see this being enforced in any way would have to be from the FTA.
Really, the FDA? Oh,
FTA.
FTA. I was like, okay, what are we talking about food here for?
No, no, no. The Federal Trade Admission. But no, I'm sorry. Not FTA. FTC. The Federal Trade
Oh,
Commission.
okay.
Yeah. So, because they handle pretty much pretty much all the training and economic things that go on within at least the United States. At least oversee and see make sure companies are playing by the rules. And yeah, it'll definitely give at least the FTC a power to enforce that policy, and to me that's the only thing I know powerful enough to enforce it. But then again, that'll be kind of limiting as well. Because what if you got the game but you didn't like it, and you're gonna have to wait several weeks just to get your money back, or at least some of your money back.
All right. So
So,
let me just give
like I
you.
said, it's a thought experiment. It's really a thought experiment.
Uh,
So, and I'm also thinking of like is that is also because of this it's gonna then encourage more piracy.
mhm.
So I'm trying to think what could be like a free market way to solve this. I'm trying to think.
While you're thinking, let me just read up the next two paragraphs that I actually missed talking about.
Go on
Gives a
ahead.
little bit more information about the EU. So it says here the ban on reselling. This is on Polygon.com, by the way. The ban on reselling games is therefore counter to EU laws on digital goods that are designed to block prohibit prohibition on the free movement of goods within the Union. According to EU law, all goods, including software, can be sold used without the permission of the maker or the original seller. The court clarified that any resale of the game must be a single copy and not a duplicates. According to the ruling, Valve has 3 months to make amends in its terms of service. That is likely to be delayed during the appeal process. Oh, it says here from a spokesperson of Valve, we disagree with the decision of the Paris Court of First Instance and will appeal it, a Valve spokesperson told Polygon in an emailed statement. The decision will have no effect on Steam while the case is on appeal. So, just to give context, because I've never seen any of the EU laws, apparently this is something they usually do in the Union, where all goods, including software, can be sold without permission of the maker or original seller. And I don't know, to me, that just sounds really bad.
Sounds socialistic if you ask me.
Because, like, I don't know, that's just me being sympathetic to programmers, developers that make any type of apps for computers or software, spending all that hard time doing overtime and everything, and one person buys it, then they resell it, and resell it and resell it, and these people are just not getting any money out of it because all the people that the first wave of people bought it are reselling it constantly.
And the funny part is, I just made this kind of weird correlation. I find it funny how it's a common, it's a common trope of how uh, people would decry of how in favor the United States is towards
Mm.
corporations. But in the Europe's case, they're too much in favor of the consumer at the expense of businesses.
And like, here's the thing: when I first read this article, my first thoughts were, "Oh yay, I can be able to sell all these games I have that I never play." And that's everyone's first thoughts, especially Steam users with literally thousands of games in their library. But after thinking about it, like logically, especially if you didn't came to the knowledge of knowing that resold games don't benefit the developers or publishers at all, it kind of it's kind of sad. I don't know. For me, like it just feels wrong.
Got another thought experiment.
Hmm.
A thing to my kind of scenario. So here's this. Let's, in trying to not get any government entities
All right.
involved, I think let's say that Valve has to follow this law as dictated by European Union law,
Hmm.
and I can probably see it happening because a major law like that ain't gonna change. Ain't gonna change quickly, and certainly for not one company, not even based in Europe.
Hmm.
So here's what I believe that Valve can do to at least alleviate this and not do more harm.
Hmm.
Valve could put in within their license agreement that the license can be resold if it meets certain criterias.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Kind of like how they do it with refunds.
Exactly. So, here's an example. Um, let's say you want to resell Dark Souls 3,
Hmm.
right? When did Dark Souls 3 came out?
Uh, I forgot what was the year, but pretty much a few years back.
All right, I'll say what 2016.
Let me make sure. Yep, 2016.
Okay, so here's how it'll go. Within the license agreement, it will say that the license holder, so the person that you
Hmm.
can resell the game 6 months 6 months after initial launch of the game, and has attributed a total of a X amount of hours of playtime. So literally, in order to resell the game, you have to have the game for more than 6 months, and you actually have to have played it for a substantial amount of time. Therefore, giving evidence that you have had the game for a while and ready to sell it, as and as well in the agreement, if it is found out that the game is trying to be reset without meeting any of the criteria, they could either ban your account, maybe do like a strike system where you can't use your a Steam account for a certain amount of time, and if it keeps happening, so outright just get rid of you from Steam because they show that you are not a honest consumer.
I think that's a little bit too heavy. I would probably suggest more around the lines of it will ban you from the marketplace for a certain amount of time.
That could work. That
Because
could
there
work
there
too.
is a marketplace on Steam. It's mostly selling TF2 stuff and trading cards. To be weirdly enough.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's one idea. One idea that Valve could do, so the Valve could do that. And as far as remember the example of maybe like the person who bought the game didn't like
Hmm.
it. Well, that's where the refund policy comes in.
And here's the thing: I do have one issue with one of the criterias, and that was the hours played. A person
Hmm.
can easily just sit on the main menu of the game, and that technically counts towards your hours playing.
I figure that out too. So and and it will be also insane to add like some kind of ludicrous number, especially if it's like some sort of short game especially if it's a short game. Like imagine you have to have 50 hours worth of playtime for I don't know, uh,
Putt putt,
uh,
that one little weird car that it's like a kid's game for math and stuff.
sure, that.
Like this is
So I can see that maybe it could be maybe a different criteria needed for that. I do think though the having having a certain time limit of when the game can be resold, I think that will be genuinely good.
yeah, that one is a very good one because by then either well, I think I would actually extend that timer a bit more.
That's what, to a year, 18 months.
18 months maybe. Because like here's the thing. Steam also does a lot of sales, especially once when the game gets old. And specifically because here's the weird thing about Steam. All right. So you know how YouTube algorithm is, right?
Yeah,
So think of Steam having their own different type of algorithm. The way their algorithm works is by wish list. So if you really want a game, you put it on wish list, and this will pop up for a lot of indie devs. That's why Steam, by the way, has been going under fire. Pretty much, there've been like it's been very shaky with Steam right now when it comes to indie devs. Some like it, some hate it. It's been back and forth because maybe they did one thing and like I think right now they were trying to change up the discovery site tab for indie devs. And the discovery tab is pretty much it's kind of like a hey what's new type of tab with all these indie dev games and stuff like newly released games. They tried playing around with it. Apparently it didn't do so well to a point where it made a lot of people's games go negative in the wish list, so meaning that they're losing more people getting wish lists rather than gaining. So that's their algorithm. They have to use wish list a lot. And those wish lists usually will also, of course, give you an email whenever there's a sale for that game. And sometimes these sales last, like, it takes a long time for them to come out. The longest I've seen for a game to have a sale was, I think, I think it was Dark Souls 3, actually. It took a while for it to go on sale. And once when it did, people were finally buying it as well. Like there was a second wave of people buying. So I think that's why we need to kind of increase that time limit. Mostly because the first wave, of course, is the main important one. It tells the people if they have a good game or not. And then the second wave is for those people they'll be like, I'll just wait for the game to come out a little bit cheaper. But if we have a third wave by then, I think that should be like just resellables.
Yeah, and as well, something I also just thought that one could argue that because of that, if this was put into a license agreement, that it would just make gamers just wait 18 months for a game. Well, then I'll argue then then I'll argue against that, pretty much saying that well then they were never then they were never interested in the game to begin with.
Pretty much.
They just wanted a game just to have a game.
Yeah, pretty much.
So and in 18 months, I think it's a little too long. I say a full year because usually it by the 12-month cycle, sometimes even like 6 months or 9 months, um, the game like in a brand new game gets pretty much they get their final record of profit. Because by the 6 month window, that's when like you pretty much gain your um, the cells of the game pretty much start declining very very low. So it's always usually the first 3 months that are the most important.
And like
Uh,
here's the thing.
unless you're unless you're a very big exception.
Like here's the thing. This is just a big example of why government should not really be looking into games like this. Because as soon as the government tries to control games, they ruin it for either the consumer or the developer. And here's a little fun thing I've been looking at the comments for Polygon.com on that whole article. This guy's literally named the devil's favorite advocate. He says, or they could get around, a Steam could get around it by moving to a system whereby the user does not buy the game outright, but rather buys access to it for a fixed duration. Publishers would love that. Us consumers would probably not so much. Someone replies to that, and suddenly Steam isn't the king of the digital retail games anymore. The devil's advocate replies again, saying, like other digital stores will be able to avoid encountering the same problem. That's my point. And then the guy replies back, that's my point, they'll be on equal footing. So pretty much, Steam's gonna try to get around it, and just because one country said something, it's probably gonna ruin us.
People wonder why we hate the French.
Let's see. Let me keep looking. It says here because I'm trying to see what other people think about this whole thing. Let's see. Rolled Gold says so. I'm curious as to Europe's reasoning on digital goods can be used in the first place. So how can they be used? There isn't any wear and tear on the video game as there would be in the car. Let's say. How did they come to determine that it can be used? And that is a really good point. Also, as I understood it, Steam doesn't sell the actual game. You just buy a key which gives you the right to access it. How would you even go about reselling a digital copy? Alright, so let's see. Some other guy says, transfer the license to another account. This isn't rocket science. Let's see, another one says, yep, especially since Valve already has the infrastructure in place for it, games can become available on the marketplace like other digital goods. Then someone says, I feel like developers will be more against this than Steam. Finally, someone said it. I was looking for someone. It says here, I feel like developers would be more against this than Steam. Steam already has an infrastructure for the marketplace to deal with this. I assume Steam could even charge another fee as the same as digital copies. But the one person here actually mentioned the developers. Because he knows that when you resell a game, none of the profit goes back to them.
Greedy
And
gamers.
like, here's the thing. Yeah, not gonna lie, I was kind of happy in the sense of like, hey, I can be, like as I said before, I can be able to sell my old games. But once when you think about it, it's just, first of all, it's government trying to control games. Second of all, do you really want to hurt that indie dev that you so apparently love to the point where you buy a game that could have been bought from the devs and you bought it without having to pay it them, but you pay another person. Not saying that I'm not trying to guilt trip anyone buying a used game. I'm just saying that there is some consequences on buying a new used game, meaning like fairly recently came out, like literally a month. If you're gonna go ahead and buy, let's say, Ocarina of Time for the N64, go ahead, go to that flea market and buy it. They're not making profit out of it anymore. They're probably making profit out of the 3DS one. Hell, maybe they might make a Switch version one day. But for the N64, they're not making profit out of that. Go ahead, do you. But yeah, so it seems like no one has been talking about the developers. So I guess I'll be the one that speaks for them for this time.
You go and be the Lorax, Jack. Go and be the Lorax for indie devs,
I am the
which
Lorax.
might include me one day. Which
I am the Lorax that
thank God,
speaks for Hack.
thank God I'm searching different other possible careers. Cause every day I can't lie, guys. Every day I get discouraged more and more to not do game development as a serious career. Maybe as a hobby, but man, if they until things really improve, I'm just gonna be just waiting this wave out.
And you see,
But
that is an example of how you should never scare a potential indie dev.
mm-hmm, yep. And I'm still gonna go ahead and put my hat in the ring. It's gonna be a long battle.
Alright, I said what I've have to say. Do you have any last words?
Yes. Here's my last words. Screw the French. Screw the EU. This is the, this is why games are suffering, and as well, screw the French. And I think we all can say everything we can about the subject. Much like our lawsuit stories, we're gonna have to wait to see what happens,
And hope for the best.
and hopefully Valve gets a better lawyer who doesn't go with the subscription service argument.
Yeah, that one was not a good move. Even though I know they're trying to do some loopholes there, but all they're really doing is making Epic Games and other launchers seem better.
The extreme here that I could see is that Steam stops being operable in to any European Union nations
I
entirely.
saw that like of many comments saying, "Well, look, Steam users and friends have fun while you still can."
Yep. Eh, what if? Oh, yo, Jack. What if is this is some secret ops so that because gamers within the union can't use Steam anymore, that's what would finally convince to tell their politicians to get out of the union just so they can use Steam
The
again.
next Frexit.
Exact.
No,
this is all a
I
secret
got it.
setup for
I'm a
Brexit.
trademark it. A Frexit.
Frexit. That's I like that.
Frexit
I
for
like that.
2020.
You know what? That better be the title of this video. Brexit for 2020. Brexit 2020.
You consider it done.
Awesome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and start closing in on our show. Long discussion, long discussion, very enlightening. I have to say, actually, a pretty. I learned a lot today, and I hope you guys did too. And so with that, Jack, again I ask, what is your music recommendation for the week?
Alright, so my music recommendation for this week, it's gonna be something along the electronic section. And this is from a artist that's recently gotten big. I remembered this guy being the first time I've seen him was I think early 2015. He was barely getting his stuff together, and he was all he was doing was DJing and live streams for a website that used to be called Mixify.com. His the artist's name is, well, actually, I never really ever heard him pronounce his name. That's the weird thing. So it's 3LAU. So Elau, I don't know. That's the one thing that it's because this one song was the only one that I really listened to repeatedly. But yeah, it's 3LAU. That's his art. That's the artist's name. The single is called "Miss Me More." Recently came out.
Th- thank you, Jack. And as well, what are you gonna be playing, watching, doing anything significant this coming week till the next recording of the podcast?
I am still gonna be working on playing some more League. Hopefully, I'll get myself to gold rank. Currently in Silver 3, I think. I haven't played many games. I only played like I think 4 games, and out of three wins, I got the Silver 3 or Silver 4, whichever one of the two. And this week, I'm gonna try to watch more JoJo. Like this whole past week, I haven't been watching any JoJo, and that makes me sad.
That makes me sad. Uh, all right then. Well, and as for me, a few things. Uh, I while I did miss the new comic book day this past Wednesday, I'm still gonna go ahead and try to and get some new comics from this past week, and so I can put some videos out, put some reviews out there, because I finally am now started doing uh, modern, more recent comics, and as well, uh, tomorrow as of this recording, I'm gonna be sitting some time off after doing some editing and whatever household household errands I need to do, and go and watch Rambo: Last Blood. Ooh,
I saw your tweets
ooh,
about it too.
ooh, boy! And so far it has the best reviews ever. And you know what those reviews are?
What?
Here, here. I'll say it to you. I'm gonna go to everyone's favorite review site, Rotten Tomatoes, and just give you the best review for Rambo. So, for Rambo of Last Blood, it has a 30% on the tomato meter, but an audience score of 85%.
Ah, I would like to say something, but that's just another hour of recording.
hmm And all the talks of and all, and now I want to see this movie regardless, even if the critics did love it. I was gonna say regardless, but just seeing critics blow their minds and trying to go through some loopholes of trying to degrade this movie it just made me more inclined to just go see it, just to see Rambo on the screen one last time. Fun fact: when news of this movie came out, I was gonna tell my dad about it,
hmm
and I told him, hey, there's a new Rambo movie, and he goes, oh yeah, what's it be called? Rambo: Last Blood, and I told him, yeah, exactly what's it be called, and he looked at me like, oh. I was kidding. So my dad making the best be Nosferatu. Well, no, wait, no. Wait, not Nosferatu.
Yep.
Not the
He's a
vampire.
vampire.
No, Notre Dame. There you go, Notre Dame.
No.
But yeah, so that's we doing this week. Also, the major thing we doing this weekend, and by next podcast, I'll give you my thoughts, my earnest thoughts of what I thought about Rambo: Last Blood, which hopefully is positive. It's probably gonna be
Most
positive.
likely.
All right, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we comes to the end of the Hack Jack show. I, I would like to say thank you very much for listening, says watching our show. And as well, don't forget to like our video if you like it. Subscribe so that we are then more incentivized to keep pumping these episodes out for y'all. Don't forget to share this video with people who are into gaming, who are into comics, who are into excuse me, who are into who are into just pop into the pop culture at large. Share our voices. Let our know be heard. We need some haters. Come on, guys, give us some haters. We love to get some haters. And as well, don't forget to ring the bell to be notified when our next video on the hatch on our channel will be, whether it's a new podcast, new gameplay video, or a new comic review from yours truly. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Hack signing off.
See you guys. That is actually. This is actually our longest episode yet. Again.
sets me free. I can't go on. It's been so long. How I wish you could hear me say, you're every thought, you're everything. Step in my heart and never go away. Calling your name to hold you again. It's been so hard, I miss you every day. Bring back the time when you were mine. I'm so alone since you went away. I can't go on. It's been so long. How I wish you could hear me say, you're every thought, you're everything. Step in my heart and never go